what if we didn't vote for anybody? What if we just all stayed home?
These are people, regular people, who you probably work with, who you've been standing in line at the grocery store with and having a conversation about sports or something. Um, like we all get along on the daily. So why can't we just figure out the small differences that we have in a peaceful way? Why do we need all this?
This is why we need Heineken to financially back our message, because everybody overlooks the fact that 100% of us agree on something. We
Yeah.
always hear everything in the country sucks because the red team. Everything in the country sucks because of the blue team. But the common denominator is that we all think everything sucks.
Enable program deep sea diving. Loading bearing across the pond. Lower PC roster. Visualizing season 6 of Kitchen Sink
Welcome
Microscopy.
to another Kitchen Sink Microscopy. I'm Eric Rosenblatt, and Casey and I, we would love it if you'd like and share this video, subscribe to the channel, all that good jazz, all the good YouTube feels. Leave a comment too, if you'd like.
Yes, and I am Casey Rochford, and we write our own music. And that's all the way at the end of the episode, and you will want to hang out for that because it's super cool music. Yeah. So, what are we going to talk about tonight?
Well, okay. I think we can talk about the shit show that was the debate, the political debate between presidential candidates recently.
Oh boy.
I mean, if you can even call it a debate, I didn't watch the whole thing, so well, as an anarchist, it's like I don't even care, but it's also like these kinds of things seem superfluous and pointless, and people say a lot of shit that they're never gonna like. They say, "Oh, I'm gonna do this thing," or "I believe in that," and then they do the opposite, or
Yeah.
don't do anything. So it's like, what's the point? But from the highlights that I've seen, the cliff notes, it's oh boy, it's about like you'd expect, because it's like there's two old ass motherfuckers, like
Mhm.
like they're really old people,
Right. Like the memes are gold, like Waldorf and Statler, and yeah. But yeah, like, I didn't see any of it. But like it I do kind of care because even living in Germany, um, if Trump is elected, that has an impact on the rest of the world too, and it kind of influences how other elections go over here in Europe, and with all the stuff going on in Ukraine and everything. Like it, if he gets into power, it's a pretty good chance that things will tip in a very bad direction, and we'll be, I'll be sitting right in the middle of like probably the makings of a new world war.
well,
And
yeah, I guess I would beg to differ in this regard, because like looking at, well, okay, I
we don't know
honestly,
anything about the political situation over here, though. Like,
no,
there's
no, no, but I'm just thinking about how things operate, and it's like, and okay, now I do want to say it, it's pretty evident that Joe Biden is not altogether there. And it makes me sad because like I saw my grandpa go through, well, he went
yeah,
through Alzheimer's, and I mean, there's a lot of parallels there, and I feel really bad for the guy. Um, for anybody going through that. But it's like I think it's pretty evident based on the like what I saw, that like he has no impact on anything. He's just a figurehead. Like there's a system that runs itself, and the president just kind of stands on top of that. They don't really do anything. So it's like I'm not really worried one way or the other. Well, I'm obviously worried about the shadow government and how it does things in the military industrial complex and stuff like that. But I don't think it matters who is elected, who is in office. It could be anybody. It could be a fucking goat, and it'll still be same shit, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that simple. They're not kings, but they're also not impotent. Well, politically impotent. I mean, there are 80.
Yeah. So, well, yeah. Well, I mean, even just that alone, too. It's like these are people who are decades past when normal people retire and go and do their vacationing. They buy an RV and they settle down. Yeah, they're both old. Like,
well,
why
did they put this minimum age of 35? Which, fine, you know, you want to have somebody fairly old, you know, like seasoned, and they've been through life, they've had experience. Sure, that makes sense. But you don't put a cap on it. Like, you look at all these super, like, increasingly older and older people in government, and all the problems they have. Like Mitch McConnell, is he dead yet? Like,
well, if probably he's like a walking corpse, and Nancy Pelosi too. Like,
I think Mitch McConnell has this like weekend at Bernie's thing going on. Like,
yep, yeah.
That, like, why is nobody drafting legislation to say, hey, you know what? It's about time that we started reining in a little bit on, you know, like, maybe it's not a good idea to let felons be in the government. Like that. I mean, talk about setting an example for, you know, like, especially Republicans are supposed to be like the party of law and order, right? And then they're going to push this guy with 34 felony counts, right?
Okay. Yeah. Like, well, I mean, that is kind of an idiocracy sort of thing there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and you know, the thing is, when the Constitution was drafted, people didn't live that long. Living to 80 would be a miracle. so they probably didn't think to incorporate a maximum age.
Yeah.
But maybe, yeah, now that lifespans are as long as they are, and like, well, you know, it's like we can live to the point where we're just completely out of it, but we're still, our heart's still beating and we're still standing.
Well, this also begs the question, like, you know, what you said about retiring. Why don't they want to retire? They get a cushy pension for the rest of their lives. Yeah. And however long they live, they can just fuck off and do nothing and get all this money. Why do they want to keep doing what they're doing?
That's a good question.
Other than maybe they have the potential to get even richer with, you know, black money or whatever.
Insider trading. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a big thing.
Lobbying and all this stuff. Like, this is a clear sign that there's all kinds of rot and corruption that needs to be eaten away.
Like, yes, absolutely. Well, and
I'm seeing people now that were fighting tooth and nail, defending Biden, saying we got to go for Biden. Biden's not that bad. Biden's pretty cool, you know. And now they're like, Biden, please just step down and let somebody else run on the Democratic. It's like,
I know. Well, term limits would be a good start for. Well, we obviously have that for the president, but for Congress, Supreme Court, that, like, hey, maybe just kind of be there for a little while, you know?
Right. That especially the Supreme Court. That's the dumbest shit ever.
A lifetime appointment.
Yeah, a lifetime appointment, and it's always like that's kind of probably the linchpin that keeps us locked into this red and blue battle. It's like, mainly it's just who's gonna stick the judges in these political slants. Why do judges have political slants? first place?
That's a good question. Yep.
And it's all about like Trump put like 3 conservative judges in that are all like anti-abortion, and Roe versus Wade was overturned, and now everyone's worried like who's gonna mysteriously die next on the Supreme Court if Trump gets in, and
Oh yeah, it's a shit show. I just like, is there someone else up there we can talk to? Can we maybe have like some new blood, like something separated from the corporatocracy, please?
Yeah.
Is that possible?
I really urge people to take this election as an opportunity to just collectively decide amongst ourselves to do something in protest.
Yeah.
That will upset the system enough to where they have to respond. Like, do something in such a way that there is no law of the land to cover what it is that happened.
Well,
happened.
I suppose so. This is actually probably one of the rare opportunities in U.S. history where a third party candidate actually has a chance.
But they don't.
Literally anybody else, like these 2 chuckle fucks, like really nobody wants them. Nobody likes them. Like, oh yeah, okay.
RFK couldn't even be in the debate because there aren't enough states that allow a third party candidate to get electoral votes.
Yeah.
So like it is actually literally impossible. Like popular vote, of course they can win. Mm-hmm. And of course, the Electoral College absolutely is a huge problem.
It's in bed with the establishment for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and that's and that, like you're saying, an act of protest that would be like voting for somebody else, some other party, whoever it is. Like, if
wait. If you write a candidate in, mm-hmm. does it go through the Electoral College? Or is it strictly counted as popular vote? Because
I think the Electoral College looks at things and then is supposed to sort of decide based on feels or something. So I mean, they will have access to that.
What a scientific process.
Yeah. I get the point of the Electoral College, but I think maybe it's run its course by now. Maybe we need a change. Well, for sure we need a change. Holy shit. Like, look at what the hell? We have 2 like old farts yelling at each other that can barely do anything. And it's like, and that this is the best we can come up with, huh? This is the best we have. Like, of all the 330 plus million people in this country, those 2 idiots are the best that we have. Right. What the hell? Really? And people they suck it up. Like, man, we should also be critical of the media for even perpetuating this bullshit. We should be critical of the system. Oh man, it just we need a change. Honestly, at this point, anything, anything is better than what we have now. And maybe we need a monkey wrench to come in and upset the system and break it. Maybe a reset would be nice.
What will the ignorant masses say when World War III begins?
Sig Heil, probably. Oh man. Yeah, well, okay. Maybe I should say we need something at least a little bit logical. But really, honestly, there are better choices out there, even within your own particular party. Like, there's a lot of people I respect from the D's and the R's and the red team and blue team, like some pretty rational people who would be pretty okay. Like, hey, they're all right. Maybe I don't agree with everything, but at least they're not like, wearing adult diapers and pooping their pants on stage and stuff, or just like unable to finish a sentence.
Yeah. And these two candidates are only 3 years apart in age.
I know.
And honestly, like, it just Trump's overall like personal health is clearly not great. Like he eats like shit. There's just a plethora of things that like kind of disqualify both of these grandpas to be running
great grandpas, actually.
Yeah, really.
And you're right. Like, yeah, okay. In the stuff that I've seen from the debate, Trump did seem more coherent than Biden, but like you said, they're only a few years apart in age, and so it's like, give it a term, and Trump's going to be where Biden is right now, probably.
Well, I would argue he's been there already, like, because I don't think it's completely an act that he has this pathological lying thing where he's like on camera saying one thing and then completely denying it on camera later, and it never seems to bite him in the ass for some reason. I mean, now it's starting to, but like
he's actually honestly always been that way.
Yeah,
ever since before politics,
Yeah, dementia can set in anytime, really. Like you can get it pretty early, and I think that could be some form of dementia. Like he aside from teleprompter stuff, like he's actually kind of not so coherent too.
Well, I mean, it just points out like why are the two major candidates in that age bracket? Like, right. Why is that? I don't get it. Like, I mean, I don't get politics to begin with, really, but I don't understand how
it's definitely a liability to the country.
Yeah, I mean, because I kind of, in my personal opinion, the president is more like a representative to not only the people of the country, of like sort of the mouthpiece, I guess, of the current state of affairs, but also a representative to other countries, to the rest of the world. So you want somebody who's with it, who's together, who's calm and collected, like that. Because think about it, like imagine the perception, how the rest of the world sees this country the last, like, I don't know, couple of decades, basically. Like, we're kind of a joke, honestly.
Yeah, like, literally a joke.
Like, yeah, wouldn't you want somebody? I mean, there's a lot of people who think that the president is like a king, right? And they can just change whatever they want to, which is totally not true. But like, as a representative, wouldn't you want somebody who, I don't know, I would want somebody who exemplifies the culture of the US. And, obviously there's a broad culture here. So it could be any of a variety of different people. But I would want someone who is not running their mouth or, as Trump does, just kind of saying whatever comes to mind, or someone like Biden who can't complete a sentence, and rambles or like kind of mutters and loses track of what he's thinking. Like, how does that appear to our allies, for one, or our adversaries? That's what I'm most concerned about. Like, both of these candidates are the wrong candidates. Like, we need someone who's with it. We need someone who's, I don't know, strong, and logical and thoughtful and calm, right?
Yeah. It doesn't really matter how strong your military is, how many guns you have, if the people in charge are dimwits. Like,
diplomacy is how most Like,
Well, and here's the thing, like, however much power you want to argue the president has or does not have, there are things, let's just take executive orders, for example, things that can go into effect immediately on their whim, um, much like a king. Not everything can, and sometimes it can be reversed. But by the time it goes through all the rigmarole to get reversed, actual damage can be done.
this is true.
It's like saying, well, we should let anybody have a gun, and if they do something wrong, then we'll correct it. Well, they've already pulled the trigger and killed a bunch of people.
Well, and that does bring up, like, why are executive orders even a thing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe that's a thing. Well, and I believe honestly that it's kind of hopeless. Like, we've crossed a threshold, a point of no return, I suppose. And the rot is, the house is basically fully rotten, and we're just putting fresh coats of paint over all this rot. It's about to fall apart. And
Oh, yeah.
maybe our focus ought not to be on who's president or who's in Congress or the Senate or whatever. And maybe we should be focused on correcting some of these faults that led to where we are now. The term limits and
But the people have no power to do that. The
Well, they
people
do.
can bitch and moan all they want about term limits. So they do. In fact, I bet if you polled everybody in the country, 100% of people would be like, yeah, everybody in the government should have term limits, because everybody's pissed off about everything going on right now.
Well, it's the same thing with daylight saving time.
Yeah, but
Everybody
it's out
agrees.
of our hands. It's completely out of our hands. The people that make the decision to even vote on that in the first place are the ones that are benefiting from the way it is right now.
And it's in their best interest to perpetuate that and keep themselves in the system. And that points to, I guess, the sad realization that this is not a democracy at all. It's a corporatocracy.
It's technically a republic.
Well, I mean, originally as designed, but I mean, it doesn't have, there are no democratic elements at all. Yeah, I mean, you can vote for people, but the system gives the people, here's the choices you can choose.
You can vote for Putin too.
Yeah, exactly. Choice between a shit burger or a shit dog.
Right. It's illusion of choice. Like, that's pretty much all anybody really has.
Well, and I guess maybe
and depressing.
It is. And that's where I guess my personal philosophy, I have cast off politics a long time ago, and I don't care anymore. What I believe in is humankind. I believe in building a better world for everybody. And the only way we're going to do that is together as fellow human beings. And we can do that. We don't need politics to make the world a better place. That it's actually making it a worse place. So forget about all that shit. Just take that ballot, tear it up, throw it in the garbage, because it doesn't matter. It's not going to change anything. Like, the only way is engaging with other people, having conversations, going out and helping people in the community, changing hearts and minds, whatever.
Here's an idea. The power that the government has to keep things the way they are lies with the military and their brainwashed, blind obedience to the rule of the government, right? But the government, or the military, is made up of human beings. And what if we appealed to all of those people in the military who, let's be honest, probably, no matter how good of a person they are willing to set their morals aside to follow a shitty order because they don't want to lose their job or whatever. So what if what if companies all over the country or world even were like, if you refuse an immoral order and lose your job, I'll hire you. Just come see me.
Or
I'll give you a job.
free
You know?
service or stuff or something. Well,
I
no,
mean,
you make
like,
a good point that actually, so
we need
when
to
it
make
comes
it
to
like we need to incentivize fighting back against the government in the most peaceful and like subtractive way possible. You know,
I
like
would,
don't add to the violence, just like take it away. Be like, no, I'm not going to pull the trigger.
yeah, actually, I would recommend to anybody, military or otherwise, to read the book Evolutionary Tactics. I have a copy. It's fantastic. It's great. Um, it's weird, but it's great. Well, and so in many coups that have happened, the police tend to side with the government. The military tends to side with the people. So, and I'm not saying there needs to be a coup, but what we would need is sort of a passive.
Do you really think that would
Resistance.
happen in America though? Like
No, no.
our military is way different than other militaries.
This is true. Well,
Way,
it's also a very
and our
big.
police are.
It's a
So
very big, diverse country with like, yeah. Most of the things that have happened, like what I'm saying, are smaller places that
yeah,
are more homogenous. In this country, I doubt that. But I mean, just passive resistance, just that that might be enough. Like you said, just refuse to obey immoral orders.
yeah.
Um,
But like we the people need to create some kind of safety net for that to happen. Like, you know, actually reach out to people and say like, look, we will openly just like make it possible. Shit, like if someone were to do that, if there was a Ken Watanabe that that refused an order and got booted out of the military, and they wanted to come and edit videos for us and do social media stuff, I think I would be fine scraping together money to try to find a way to give them a paycheck. You know?
Absolutely, man. I have the utmost respect for soldiers who act according to their ethics and
Mm-hmm.
morals. That like, hey, this is wrong.
We got to stop brainwashing that out of people, and you know, like, yeah, the military here in Germany, the police here in Germany, way different,
Mhm.
total different atmosphere, total different attitude. There's a mutual respect between them and the people,
Mhm.
and it's not overboard. It's not all like, yeah, these colors don't run and blah blah blah, because they learned from all that shit in the time of Hitler. You
Well,
know,
yeah, and at the end of the day, it's just a job. You're just an
yeah,
employee of an organization. That you're not different from anybody else. You're just another person with a different job.
right,
Like people gotta understand that you're not special.
yeah. You don't have to jack off the flagpole, like,
to
yeah, like
quote
just
Blade Runner, you're not cop, you're little people. It, yeah, and I mean this is such a huge thing. Like there's this is a big deep subject, and it deserves a lot of attention, and because we can see the rot, and we can see how the trajectory that this country and other countries are going. Obviously the US influences, it's sort of a magnet that pulls other countries with it. And maybe we should be less concerned about who is sitting up there and more concerned about how, like, what we're doing as a country, as a people. Like, I that's more important to me. Oh,
yeah.
because people just think, oh well, I cast a vote and that's good enough. My team will sort things out in the dub. Well, how's that working for you, huh? All the wars and shit that's going on, and the death and destruction and corruption, and ugh, frankly, oppression in a lot of ways. Um, checking a checkbox isn't going to make it better. The only way, and this is where people are going to be like, work. Oh my god, it's going to take work. It's going to take effort, but it's worth it. Like I don't have kids, but if I did, I would want to leave the world in a state where I would feel like my kids are growing up in a better place than I did. And it would not be that way right now. Um, and that's very disturbing because, well, like you mentioned before, we are very close to World War III. And you know the whole saying, the Einstein saying, right? Or well, not, he didn't actually say it, but I know not what weapons will be used to fight World War III, but I know that World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones or something like that.
Yeah.
This is totally true. Like, we're kind of on the precipice of this. I mean, if you look at the state of things, it's very, very, very parallel to how, like, the preface for World War One, except we're not dealing with horses and primitive technology and stuff. No, we have ICBMs. We have fucking tactical robots and stuff. Like, there's stuff that we don't even know what we have, and it's going to be unleashed if we go to war in a major way. And I don't like that idea.
Well, World War One was like, wasn't that like an assassination and
yeah, Franz Ferdinand, but that was just the like match that finally lit the fire that had been kind of, people had been, various countries had been piling up flammable stuff for a long time, and so that just kicked off this conflict. But you know, something like that could happen now. All it'll take is one little thing. It's like, and for what was the point of World War One? Who benefited? Oh yeah, the politicians, the bankers, people selling arms. They benefited. Who didn't? Oh, everybody else, the whole fucking planet. And then we did it again. And today, if we do that, our weapons are much, much more powerful and destructive than the stuff that we had back in the early 1900s. And I would like to avoid that at all costs, honestly.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, yeah, like this is the kind of shit you get with old people running things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because it's a generational thing, and they're grasping at straws to keep all that shit, all that tough guy stuff in, you know, kind of running the show. And we need fresh blood. We need other ideas. We need younger, more like vital people to look to for guidance. And I don't even want to say leadership. It should just be guidance. Like,
I don't know
nobody can say, like, I don't ever need guidance, you know, like, but leadership is like too strong, I think. Like, too strong a word. And I think it's off-putting because all they really are guiding us. Like, there is no actual leading, at least in the US or any other like truly somewhat democratic society. Like, it's all guidance. And we should change the name of things to make it more fitting. Like counselors, you know, advisors.
Well, like maybe not just change the name, but change the directive. What they're tasked with doing. Well, and you're right. There's a place for having sort of somebody a guru that everybody looks to for answers and stuff. But really, the change begins with you and I. It begins at the ground level. And until that traction starts to build, I don't think we'll ever see change.
This whole thing, this debate with geriatrics um, really highlights the point I've tried to make before about experience. Having years and years of experience doesn't really matter because at some point you have all these years of experience, but you've aged out of the exponential growth in technology and the cultural changes that follow it on that wave. Like your experience stays in the past while the future is being built. So like,
ooh, man, that's
there
good.
there's kind of like this point where the lines intersect and you're kind of like at the top of your game, but then technology takes off and you're still kind of like
Well,
learning how
not
to
just
do really well what like I'm really good at this typewriter, and,
not
and
just
it's not really
technology.
relevant.
It's not just technology, but it's like social conditions too.
Mm-hmm.
Things
Mm-hmm.
change, and well, talking to experience, yeah, they might have a bunch of experience, but what they have experience in is simply politics, not anything else. And
Yeah.
politics is completely isolated from the rest of the world. It isn't like a person had a bunch of experience doing a bunch of different jobs or whatever. No, they just had experience in politics. Like what? Okay, so what? What that
Right.
doesn't make you better at advising the rest of the public or making better decisions. It actually kind of seems worse. Like, oh yeah, you're gonna obviously side with the political system and not the people because you're totally disconnected. You've been far disconnected from the average person, and well, yeah, and to be in that for and be octogenarian, um, like, damn.
Yeah, like why can't we just have advisors in the government that are elected by completely 100% democratic vote, and these are real people that worked in the sector that they're applying for a job for, basically. Like I
Yeah.
want to give guidance to the country on education, and I've been an educator for 40 years and became a principal and then a
Ooh.
district director and blah blah
You know,
blah. Like,
that's an interesting idea. In fact, that maybe if it were less a popularity contest and more a qualification,
right.
you have to prove that you have experience within a particular field before you can be elected to a position. I'd
Yeah.
like to see governance operate more like the IEC or something, like industry professionals all coming together, discussing like how the standards, what we're going to do, what's the best way we can make this USB port or something. And then they decide, and everybody's like, yeah, yep, that's good. And generally, most people agree that it's good because, well, a bunch of smart people who work in the industry got together and discussed this,
Yeah.
and it makes sense. And it's like, well, why wouldn't you adopt this? It's like currently the best idea we have, but we don't have that system in most countries. It's like it's a shit show. It's a joke. It's a farce. Like,
Yeah.
why do we follow these people? I say we. I mean, I guess
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I'm screaming is like, this is the time. I say this every 4 years, but like really now everybody can see like these are not good choices.
no.
Neither of these are good choices. They're
Mm-hmm.
not even okay choices.
What?
They're both like disasters waiting to happen.
Yeah,
Different kinds of disasters, but disasters nonetheless.
and it's exposing the cracks in the way things operate in the U.S. in that people on both sides of the major political parties are like, I don't know, like because they're told, oh, you gotta vote for this guy or otherwise this guy, and it's like, but everybody is not on board. It's like,
Heineken.
yes,
Heineken, please.
Have a beer, have a
sponsor our
conversation.
show, work together with us to get this word out that we need all the Democrats and Republicans in the voting populace to have a fucking beer together.
Yeah.
And talk and just flesh out these kinds of ideas. Like, what if we didn't vote for anybody? What if we just all stayed home? You know, like what happens then? You know?
Well, and that's a good point. The thing is, people, when it comes to politics, people pigeonhole everybody into their respective boxes, and they get all adversarial about the other side and stuff. And it's like, well, okay, think about it. These are people, regular people, who you probably work with, who you've been standing in line at the grocery store with and having a conversation about sports or something. Like, we all get along on the daily. So why can't we just figure out the small differences that we have in a peaceful way? Why do we need all this? It just, well, well, it's by design, of course, because the best way to control people is to divide them. So the system, of course, perpetuating the status quo, creates this sense of division to distract people. Oh, wow, we might get nicked by YouTube on this one. But this division, it distracts people from what's the matters at hand, what actually counts, to get you to not pay attention to the man behind the curtain so that they can control you. And they're very good at it. And well, like we talked about, they've been entrenched for a very, very long time. And that system, its sole goal is, and there are actual studies about this, that politicians do not do anything in favor of what constituents want. They do everything in favor of the corporatocracy and the system. And
this is why we need Heineken to financially back our message, because everybody overlooks the fact that 100% of us agree on something. We always hear everything in the country sucks because the red team. Everything in the country sucks because of the blue team. But the common denominator is that we all think everything sucks. So, like, actually, maybe both ways just suck, and we need to find a different one. Like,
that's a good point. I think most people can agree on that. And the fact is, if you take most people, there's a lot of stuff that people can agree on. It's like you could take a player from the red team and a player from the blue team and start talking Star Trek, and both will geek out equally. Okay, so really, are we that different? Well, you have a Starbucks shirt, so you could be talking Red Dwarf, I suppose. A little more niche.
Right. That's probably a good way to wrap it up. We need Heineken to shoot us an email and say, hey, you know what? We like your message, and we're gonna work with you. We're gonna put the word out. And we're gonna try to make, affect a real change in the world.
Yeah,
with beer.
Yes. And that is the important point, is that this is
beer and conversation is the ingredients for this show. It's also, little known fact, an ingredient for fixing all the problems in the world.
Yes. And we need to see ourselves.
The answer is actually at the bottom of the bottle.
Oh, man. Yeah, we need to see ourselves as not part of a tribe, but part of a global community, I think. We're all different. We all have things that we agree on and disagree on, and, that's normal. But we don't need to hyper-focus on those things and make those separation points, delineation points, to put people over here and put us over there and whatnot. Like that's harmful. And that's how the snakes get in and take control.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, go out and not vote this November. Just sit on your ass and tell the government to go fuck themselves.
Swivel on it, punk!